So a few months back, I made a Pyramid Head flicking tutorial, but I only posted it to TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and I wanted to make a more detailed guide on how to do flicks. I want to go over some add-ons Pyramid Head has, and I want to go over cage logic, so we'll be doing that in today's video. So first, we'll be going over some add-ons. I want to start with Eerie Seal. This add-on is extremely fun. Most of you probably do run this add-on if you do play Pyramid Head. This add-on was added, or reworked, you would say, when he got an add-on pass in the patch 9.1. Now, this add-on, it decreases your Punishment of the Damned range by 50%, but you can charge up that range by using your Right of Judgment trails. And that's just holding down your power and walking and creating trails. You probably know this, but I will explain that just in case you don't. Now, this can make the range of Punishment of the Damned up to 200%. That is extremely far, and there are other ranged add-ons you can combine this with to make it even longer. This does reset when you hit somebody, so I would recommend if you are going to run that add-on, you should probably run this add-on Rust-Colored Egg. This makes it so when you injure somebody with Punishment of the Damned, it recharges that charge by 30%. So running an add-on like this makes it easier to get that charge back. Now the other Iridescent add-on, Obsidian Goblet, this makes it so your Punishment of the Damned destroys breakable walls and pallets, but it increases the cooldown by 20%. This feels really annoying, so I don't like running this add-on too much, but the aspect of breaking stuff with your power is very cool. This does not work with Spirit Fury, but it does work with Thwack, so you can run a full Aura Reading build with Thwack, and that's pretty fun to use. Now, if you do end up hating the cooldown, you can run an add-on called Cinderella Music Box. This is going to decrease the cooldown by 10%, so you still do have a 10% longer cooldown on it, but it doesn't feel as worse. So, another add-on, Crimson Ceremony Book. This is probably one of Pyramid Head's best add-ons. Just makes it so if you hit an M2 on somebody, they become hemorrhage and mangled for 80 seconds, which is a crazy amount of time. If you don't know what this does, is it just regresses healing, well, hemorrhage regresses healing progress when they aren't healing, and it increases blood trails left by injured survivors. Mangled increases the time required to heal by 25%, so you can imagine these combine pretty well. Now, his other purple is Lost Memories Book. This makes it so if you hit someone with an M2, they become oblivious for 80 seconds. This add-on's also really good. You can run a cool undetectable build, or you can run a cool oblivious build with that. Other egg now, Scarlet Egg. This is going to make it so survivors who are tormented leave behind trails of themselves while they sprint. The trails only last 5 seconds, but this is really good if they are unhooking a survivor and they're running from you and they're leaving behind this trail. This add-on's really good. It keeps people tormented pretty much the entire game. Every time I run this, I have at least 3 people tormented, like 99% of the game. So, really good add-on. Burning Man Painting, this makes it so when you miss your M2, you see any survivor's aura within 3 meters of you for 6 seconds. I believe this add-on is bugged. I don't know if it's still bugged, but when they did the add-on pass, this add-on just didn't work, and I don't remember seeing anything in the patch notes about it, so I don't know if it is fixed. It might be, it might not be, but you can try for yourself. I don't really use this add-on because I think it's bugged, but yeah. It's basically just when you miss your M2, you see the aura of a survivor within 3 meters for 6 seconds. Now, Mannequin Foot is an add-on that I really like combined with Scarlet Egg. You can imagine people are just exhausted pretty much the entire game. It just makes it so your Rites of Judgment trails inflict exhausted for 10 seconds. So it's basically just whenever somebody steps on one of your trails and becomes tormented, they'll become exhausted for 10 seconds. So combined with Scarlet Egg, people are pretty much just exhausted the entire game. Now, Misty Day Remains of Judgment, easily my favorite Pyramid Head add-on. Thematically, it's very cool, and the effect it gives is also very cool. Whenever you injure someone with your M2, you see their aura for 8 seconds. Extremely fun add-on. You can go for some really cool double tap wall bangs. Just super fun add-on overall. Tablet of the Oppressor, also a very fun add-on. When you use your M2, you gain undetectable. That's literally it. You are just undetectable whenever you're holding M2. The only drawback is you can't stand still and hold M2. You won't be undetectable then. You have to be moving. Volteal Sect Photograph, this makes it so your terror radius decreases by 2 meters for each survivor affected by Torment. You can combine this with Scarlet Egg, that's also going to be really fun. You can run a build like Monitor and Abuse, Volteal Sect Photograph, and Scarlet Egg and just have a super small terror radius the entire game. That could be very fun. You just won't be able to really cage anybody or else you're going to lose that effective Torment. Cinderella Music Box, we already went over this, but it decreases your cooldown by 10% whenever you use your M2. Now this might not work how you think, so I'm going to touch upon it very quickly. By cooldown, it means the period after you use your M2 and how long it takes you to be able to use your M2 again. It's going to lower that cooldown and not actually the charge up cooldown. If you didn't know that, there you go. Hopefully that I explained that well. Forgotten Videotape, this add-on's also pretty fun. This increases how fast your power travels by 10%. It's not really noticeable by the eye, but it does have an effect. Leopard Print Fabric, this add-on makes it so when you are holding down your M2 and you get stunned during that, the stun is decreased by 15%. This is too situational, and if you're using your M2 and getting stunned, I don't know, this add-on's just not good. You're not really trying to get stunned ever with your M2, unless you're in like a very specific situation. So I don't know, this add-on's too situational. I just wouldn't use it. You totally could run like a cool build if you want to run like Enduring with this and then run like Spear Fury or something. I don't know, do whatever you want. Spearhead, this add-on makes it so whenever you cage somebody, when they get unhooked, or uncaged rather, you see the person who uncaged them for 8 seconds. Wax Doll, this increases the range of your Punishment of the Damned by 5%. Now, into these common add-ons, these are the add-ons that honestly are the highlight of the add-on pass for me. A lot of these are very cool. So first, we have Blackstrap. This decreases the range of your M2 by 25%, but it increases the width by 25%. So there's a drawback, but it's wider. Now, Copper Ring. This increases the maximum duration of your Rites of Judgment by 5 seconds. Increase the max duration as in how long you can hold your power out. Dead Butterfly, this increases the Rites of Judgment recharge rate by 10%, and that is the part where your power gauge is replenishing. That's the recharge rate. Now, Lead Ring, this is also one of my favorite add-ons that they did with the add-on pass. This is pretty much the Sniper Pyramid Head add-on. This increases the range by 25%, but it decreases the width by 25%. So it's a very thin line to hit, but holy is it satisfying to hit. So you have that super far range, but very small hitbox. It's super rewarding and satisfying to hit. Once you get good with this add-on, it is extremely fun to use. So that's every Pyramid Head add-on. Let's get into the game itself and teach you guys how to flick. Okay, so touched upon cage logic. First thing you need to know is 99% of the time when you cage somebody, it's going to send them furthest to the location from you. Okay, so it doesn't matter if a survivor is near where they would be caged. That doesn't affect anything. It's solely based off of where the executioner is given when they cage that survivor. So if I were to cage Bill right now, we could assume that since I'm on this furthest edge of the map, we can see there's way less distance from here to there than it would be from here to over there. We can assume that when I cage him from here, since I'm closest to this corner, we can assume he would be somewhere in this vicinity. So I'll start walking here now, and we'll see if he does get the unhook or if we see him over here in the cage. So as you can see, Bill has been unhooked. We've been heading in the proper direction this entire time. So now we're instantly able to start chasing him again. If you want to tunnel, you totally can. That's probably where Pyramid Head gets the bad rep. Most people will just go for this playstyle. Okay, so I feel like I didn't go too in-depth on the cage logic stuff, so very quickly, let's say I am Pyramid Head, and I'm right here. Okay, let's get thematic here. Let's say I'm Pyramid Head, okay? This is Pyramid Head. Okay, and then let's say this is a survivor, and I'm about to cage them, right? Since I'm on this section of the map, we would say this is like the bottom right corner of the map. If I were to cage them, we can assume that they would be sent somewhere over here because that's furthest location from Pyramid Head. They wouldn't get sent like here because the distance from where Pyramid Head is to there is much shorter than it would be from here to there. So hopefully that is a better explanation. So that's just a general explanation on how cage logic works. Hopefully you understand it. It's basically just whenever you cage somebody, they're going to go to the furthest location from where you were. Now, with flicking, I'm sure you've noticed I've got my little keystrokes up here. And that's going to help you see the timing, how hard I'm flicking, and doing what. So before we get into how to actually do a flick, I do need to say it is FPS dependent. The less the FPS, the lower you need to flick. The higher the FPS, the harder you need to flick. So you'll see if I go on 120 and I flick just about the same, I'll go on 60 and you will see I will go significantly further. As you can see, that was almost a complete 180-degree flick. So I usually play at about 90. That's what I like to play on. So with flicking, it is pretty much just a timing thing. Once you get down with the timing, it becomes muscle memory. You're basically just holding right click, charging your Rites of the Judgment, and then once you're able to actually send the power out and you see the Punishment of the Damned prompt on screen, this is where the flicking will happen. You're going to flick your mouse to where you want the flick to go. So let's say I have a survivor like here, and I want to flick on them. You're going to flick your mouse, and right towards the end of your flick, that's when you're going to click M1. So it'll look like this. So as you can see. Now, if you want to flick extremely hard and then click, that's where you'll get your like mega distance. As you can see, that was a complete 180. Now, I tend to this isn't really a bad habit, I would say. It's just something I developed. Instead of having to flick like that, where I have to customize the distance completely and flick as hard as I can, I developed a habit where I will just hold E and get that extra distance. Now, if you don't have this key binded, this is the thing a lot of hillbilly players use, and it just makes it so it's easier to maneuver around the map without having to move your mouse to move the camera, so you don't get that extra drift to it. So you can do that if you want. That's something I touched upon. I made a tutorial about Pyramid Head flicks on TikTok and Shorts, but I figured I'd make a full detailed guide on it on YouTube. Another thing I will touch on is if you're on console, this is not very possible. I have heard that you can get like very short flicks, so if you are on like 60 and you're able to do stuff like that, that's good, but I don't know if it is entirely possible. Actually, you have a controller, so let me see what I can get going. So I'm on controller, 60 FPS. This is just emulating how a console would experience it. So let's see if I can do a flick. Doesn't seem like it, but it almost seems inaccurate to it in a sense, if that makes sense. I'm almost moving my camera, and when I do it, when I send my power out, it's like slightly to the right of where I'm shooting. So I would say it is not possible on console. Unless there is something I'm not aware of, this is probably something only possible on PC. Forgot to mention, DBD added keyboard and mouse support for consoles. So if you are on console, you can actually get a keyboard and mouse and learn how to use that, plug it into your console, and it is compatible with Dead by Daylight, so you would be able to do flicks on a console. You do just need a keyboard and mouse. But back to 90 FPS. Another thing I want to touch upon is how to be accurate with your flicks. Now, a lot of people will just send shots in the dark. The way you can determine if you're going to be accurate with your flicks is to just go in a custom game, get a feel for your muscle memory, start to get it building up on. Now, if I want to flick 90 degrees to the right, I've got that pretty much down to a T, like literally. If I want to flick 90 degrees to the left, I've got that pretty much down to a T. If I want to do a 180 degree flick, I've got that pretty much down to a T. It's just muscle memory, things you'll learn over time, get it built up. You'll start to understand it over time. Now, another thing is a lot of people will just M2 fake or hold their power out, do stuff like this, and wait for the survivor to lock themselves into an action. Like, let's say I'm chasing someone here, and then they're going to drop the pallet. Then I would shoot my power. Instead of doing stuff like that, a lot of people will try and like sidestep your power by doing stuff like this, where they'll act like they're going to run into the pallet, make you send your power out. Instead of doing something like that, you could just do a very minimal flick, do stuff like that. So if you do want to try and get used to something like that, instead of being patient and holding your power out the entire time and just M2 faking, going for M1s or locking survivors into animations, then hitting your M2, you can get involved in the playstyle a little bit more flick heavy, which is what I like to do. I think that's a bit more fun, and a lot of people like playing against that more, so definitely up to you though. Another thing I want to go over in this video is trails. People don't really use their trails too purposefully when they do play Pyramid Head, so I just want to say, if you are somebody who isn't used to using the trails or you don't really know where to put your trails, I would just recommend putting your trails in spots survivors have to cross, and that's going to make it so you're either tormenting them, or a lot of times, I don't know why people really do this, honestly. A lot of people will purposely just avoid Torment with their lives by like crouching through it. I've seen people literally tank M1s just to avoid Torment, which I think is so funny. But yeah, if you have no idea what to do with your trails, I would just recommend placing them in spots like main. Like, let's say here, for example. Let's say I know I'm going to chase someone main later in this game, so I'm going to set up my trails like here. And this is a good trail. People will, or I could put one like here too on the pallet. You do want to place trails on pallets too. Pallets are a great place to put your trails. People are bound to go on pallets at any point in the game. So 100% pallets. You can't place trails near gens, hooked survivors, or hooks, or even like unoperated hooks. Like even if there's no survivor on the hook, you can't place them near hooks. And I believe it's about like a 8-meter thing. You can't place trails on exit gates. Any necessary action survivors like have to interact with, you can't place trails there. Another thing is you can't place your trails in basement or going up the basement stairs. As you can see, most of it disappeared. This is probably a bug with these very minimal amounts of trails, but all of it did despawn, even the ones in basement, as you can see. So trails cannot be placed basement, near hooks, near unoperated hooks, hook survivors, gens. You can place trails in front of lockers, and if survivors are in the locker, they will get tormented when they exit out of the locker, regardless of if it's a slow exit or a fast exit. So as you can see, if you have a feeling someone's in a locker and they have DS or something, Or let's say if you know someone's in a locker and they have DS, you can place a Torment trail in front of the locker, and when they exit the locker, you will be able to M1 them and then cage them, avoiding DS. So, Pyramid Head Guide. Hopefully you guys got some information out of it.